Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Hideous Diversion Podcast. I am your host, Myke Hideous, and to my right, well, your left, maybe, I don't even know, is my co-host, Mr. Brian B. Did you want to say anything, Brian, before we start?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that from now on, I'm the producer of the Hideous Diversion, Brian B. And I've changed my look a little bit.
A
I'm
little
taking myself, making myself look more producery. And
producery.
yeah. So,
All right.
all right, Mike, you can yell at people now.
Well, now that we've gotten that cleared up, before I go any further, first
I want to hear you say it, Mike. I want to hear you say it.
say what?
That I am the producer of the Hideous Diversion.
This is
Brian
the
B.
Hollywood producer whom I had to sit on the casting couch with in order to get this podcast, and the things he did to me were just appalling. But this is my oh, stop, man. What is wrong with you tonight? Have you been drinking?
No.
All right, you freaking creep. Ladies and gentlemen,
let's get on with this show.
Yes. This my producer / co-host is a little off his freaking rocker tonight. Okay, now that we've got all that cleared up and out of the way, I also want to clear the following issues up right away, right up front. Before I even start that, I want to say one thing. Happy Veterans Day to anyone out there who is in the military, like my co-host, Mr. B. Thank you for the service that you have given to this country. And thank you to all military veterans and first responders throughout the United States of America. Thank you very much. I salute you, and I am very grateful for what you do to this country. Having said that, here we are with the beginning. If you haven't already read the disclaimer at the beginning of the show, then please be aware of the following. Warning. Tonight's podcast may very well sound disturbing to anyone who falls into any one of the following categories. If you identify as a woke idiot, a left-wing voter, a Democrat leftist socialist, a socialist Democrat, a communist Democrat leftist, a New Yorker, an anti-American Muslim, a racist leftist Caucasian hater, a closed-minded woke leftist, an illegal alien, an EBT food stamp tribes person leftist, a leftist who watches The View, a woke leftist with no sense of humor, a woke leftist who hates Trump, a woke leftist retard anti-American, a woke woman, a woke feminist leftist, or just a plain old stupid woke leftist socialist Marxist Democrat moron. Well, if you identify as any of those terms, then please, by all means, turn off this podcast right now. Go back to watching Communist Harris word salads and how badly she lost the 2024 presidential election. We strongly encourage you to stop watching this podcast right now, because we simply don't want and don't care one way or another about what you think. We don't care. I don't care. I can't necessarily speak for my co-host, but I don't friggin' care. I don't give a damn. And as far as I'm concerned, if you don't like me and you have names to call me, I don't care. You can stick them right up your ass. So on that note, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
is unstoppable in Europe.
Stoning for adultery, cutting off hands for stealing, death for renouncing Islam. This group of men is trying to enforce Sharia law in the UK. They want to ban drinking, gambling and playing music. And they say they've got bands of young men ready to patrol and enforce Sharia law by any means.
This is happening in the UK and all across Europe, and it's coming here as well. We're already seeing it in Dearborn and parts of Texas, and they're down with pedophilia and they hate dogs. Those last two things are really all that I need to know. Like, if you're down with doing that to kids and you hate dogs, I don't like.
Hold on. They hate freaking dogs?
Yeah, if you recall, I had told you about the Turks, the young Turks, who at one point, hundreds of years ago, when they had a war, what the Turks did, the young Turks, they took 60,000 dogs, relocated all of them onto an island, and left them there to starve and to kill each other. Muslims hate dogs.
Oh, all right. I'll keep on playing the video, but fuck those motherfuckers.
I don't like you, and I'm violently opposed to you imposing anything in my country. What do y'all think? Let me know down in the comments.
All right.
Islam and
Ladies and gentlemen, if you support the left wing and the indoctrination, no, that's the wrong word, my apologies, the incorporation of Muslims who have not integrated and assimilated into the American lifestyle and way of living, if you support them bringing their culture here and trying to force upon us the morning call to prayer at 5 a.m. and then another 4 times throughout the day, if you support not banning pork, if you support Sharia law, wearing burqas, women wearing burqas, men having to grow their beards long enough to a certain extent, if you support all of that, you should really leave. So the Democrat Party has become the party of hypocrisy, idiocy, impracticality, supporters of crime and criminal activity, illegal aliens, government waste expenditure, lies, and more fucking lies. The party of pro-Islamization of America. And that's a fact. The party of the castration of children. The party of fantasy land science, the party of anti-Caucasian racism, the party of men in women's bathrooms and sports, the party of more government deciding how you live your life, the party of thwarting a democratically duly elected president to incite the downfall of America. The party that refuses to denounce violence against political opponents. The party that refuses to denounce the celebration and mocking of assassinated public figures. The party of no ID voting. The party that claims to not be hateful and racist, but will scream racist and hateful slurs at you the second you don't agree with their erratic, illogical, anti-American ideology. The party of fear tactics, the party of spending trillions of dollars taken from the pockets of hard-working American citizen tax dollars for things they never agreed to, supported, or voted for, or want. The Democratic Party is broken and continues to perish in the very flames that they themselves initiated for their own demise. The party that allowed themselves to be overrun with Islamic crackpot supporters and socialists, as well as illegal aliens. And only one man is responsible for this Democrat Party calamity. You may know him as Hitler, or the Nazi, or the fascist, or probably more commonly, the Orange Man.
Actually, now they're starting to call him Stalin too.
Stalin, whatever.
I kid you not.
I'm not surprised. All these words have no meaning to me anymore, Brian. None of them.
Mm-hmm.
They've taken them all out of context. In any event, this orange man, as you well know, is named President Donald J. Trump. So let's be absolutely clear here. TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. I'm sure you've heard about it. TDS is absolutely 195% real. Donald Trump has single-handedly broken the Democrat Party. They are gone. They're out of control. No leadership, nothing. These people hate Trump so viciously that they cannot think of anything else. The Democrats haven't spent any time trying to better their party, or most importantly, make attempts or make things better for their Democrat Americans. Let me be clear on this. The Democrat American citizen voters. All right, they haven't done anything to help them. No. They've only done one thing since Trump came into the political world. What is that thing, Brian? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Well, let me tell you, my friend. The never-ending, hateful rhetoric and constant complaining of our, again, duly democratically elected 47th president of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for the last, decade or more? That's all they do is complain about him constantly. They have no idea what they're doing anymore. And the Democrat Party is literally broken. They're at an all-time low approval rating right now. I mean, record-breaking. If I remember correctly, I think it was 19%, possibly 20.
It's dropped to 14.
Oh, my God. People, if that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what else could possibly tell you what the truth is. All right, so they're at an all-time low, all right? Yet they continue to bitch and moan and complain and cry and sing stupid-ass songs and protest, which turns out to be riots, and lie and lie and lie and lie and lie again and again. They continually they continually act like idiots. These aren't politicians anymore. They're just fucking idiots. The Democrat Party is broken. Now, some of you may already know what I'm about to repeat to y'all from previous shows that I've done on and my own podcast with Mr. B and the other ones that I've done in the past. It's so important for me to continually keep saying this so that people who have never seen the podcast before or don't know who I am know exactly who it is that is speaking from this chair to you right here, right now, or whenever in the future when you watch this. I was a politically correct liberal Democrat for nearly 30 years until 2008, when King Obunga was elected for his smooth-talking bullshit rhetoric. That's when I left the party and became an independent free thinker. I will never support the Democrat Party ever again. But this also doesn't mean that I'm a Republican. I want to make sure you all know this about me, because I'm sure there's going to be someone out there who will jump on the bandwagon and call me a fascist or a Nazi or some other stupid, retarded left-wing hatred because they have no logic, understanding, reasoning to interpret what it is I'm saying describing or trying to explain. They don't care. They don't want to care. They don't understand. They don't want to understand. It's purely emotional. The Democrat Party has been spiraling out of control for several decades now, but most specifically when King Obunga became the Lord and Savior of America in 2008. That's when it really took a nosedive. That's when all the racism came out and the involvement of the Muslim Brotherhood and how they were all, Muslims are so great. And this, I'm not saying that they're not, but let's be, let's call a spade, okay? Not all Muslims are terrorists.
Right.
But all terrorists have been Muslim. Brian, do you have any idea how many terrorist attacks have taken place since 9/11, the September 11th attacks in New York City and the Pentagon, and the crash in wherever it was in Pennsylvania? Do you have any idea how many terrorist attacks by Muslims have taken place since 9/11?
No, Mike, I don't.
If I remember correctly, the answer is 38,000.
Damn.
Yeah, damn is
They've been
right.
busy.
They have been. All right, let me pick up where I left off. So they're spiraling out of control for several decades now. It took the stolen election of 2020 to open the eyes of the somewhat smarter people on the left and those of us who are independents to understand what was truly happening to the Democrat Party. For the most part, most Republicans saw and already knew what was happening. And before I go any further, let me bring one thing to your attention. When I said the stolen election, if any of you are sitting out there and say, well, Myke, you're an election denier. If that is so, and you believe that, then just remember all the Democrats now, the woke morons who are out there saying Donald Trump didn't win the election, he stole it. So you're just as stupid as I am, okay? So just keep that in mind. Ultimately, the left wing was planning an attempt. Now, this is back in 2020, between 2020 and 2024, with the alleged leadership of that administration, President Corpse and Communist Harris, probably the two worst Democrat so-called leaders of our country in the history of our country. And let me tell you why. It also includes Hillary Clinton. Ultimately, they were planning, the left wing was planning an attempt to take down the American government and the American way of life as we know it. You understand what I'm saying, right? It was there. I mean, they were in there trying to manipulate things, and they knew that Joe Biden was mentally declining. And so all his little cronies around him were taking advantage. If I also remember correctly, Mr. B, you might even be able to back me up on this. If you don't, look it up while I'm talking. But it is my understanding that all the pardons that were given out right when Trump was becoming the new president, number 47, allegedly, all those pardons that were done with the auto pen are now null and void. So while I'm talking, if you want to look that up and see if that is true, then by all means. And in the meantime, I'm going to continue on my rant. Ultimately, they were trying to destroy everything in America, in the government, particularly from within. This information has literally been uncovered, proven, and exposed ever since Trump took office again back it's been a year already since election day. Holy crap. Since he did. So winning the election by an unbelievable landslide. Almost the entire country voted Republican last November 2024. Even the smart Democrats chose to leave the Democrat Party because they saw how nothing, absolutely nothing, was being accomplished by their own so-called political leaders and their radical socialist followers. All those people who were following these leaders, these politicians, they're all out of control. They're violent, hateful, and so forth. One small example of Democrat idiocy is the argument that the leftists push concerning stolen land versus no borders. So if there's no borders in America, as you claim there shouldn't be, then how can there possibly be any land that's been stolen? I mean, am I right? So an illogical and illogical, irrational comment that the party is full of shit at this point. They just say things to hear themselves talk. Then, of course, you've got the whole illogical assumption that there are more than two genders. So in other words, there is more than man and woman, which is absolute nonsense. Science has proven the two-gender theory for thousands of years. Yet, within a decade, all of a sudden, there are all these new human sexes, genders. It's absolutely ludicrous. It really is.
So as far as what you're asking me to look up, it doesn't have to be signed. It just has to be approved by the president. So that's not true.
So those
as per the Constitution in the United States, yeah.
So the pardons that he gave out, what was it, like 2,000 of them? So they're still technically valid.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, but by law.
Just checking.
It's just that Trump's just doing that just to start a fire. He's doing his
I know
thing,
how he is.
You know what I mean?
Yep, he's good at that. He really riles.
I'll look up. I'll look up how many pardons there were.
Okay.
Anyway,
the socialists are primarily the younger AOC retards who have never read a history book on how every single country that has gone socialist / communist, which is basically the same thing, and how they failed. Anyway, these socialists are taking over the so-called normal Democrat Party of old. Chuck Schumer, he's going to be out. Possibly Adam Schiff. Pelosi's out. She quit. She's gone. She's done. Now, I know she had retired a while back, but she came back. And now AOC was just like, get out. From what I understand, a lot of the old school Democrats didn't support Zoran Mamdani, the idiot that just stole the election. That's right. I said it, stole the election in New York City. But I'll get to that, okay? What do we got here?
So I looked it up, and this is pretty interesting. George W. Bush, he only did 200 pardons. Barack Obama, 1,927. Donald Trump, 1,700. Joe Biden, 4,245 pardons.
Yeah. That says something, doesn't it? That says something about this man.
And then let's see, is that coming up on here? I'll look up some of the names while you keep on going real quick. Okay?
All right. Okay, so we're talking about socialists and how they're taking over the Democrat Party. And like every good, well-taught socialist communist retard who take no responsibility for their own failures or failing actions. They blame it on everyone else but themselves. It's a classic Marxist maneuver taken straight from the Communist Manifesto handbook. And that's exactly what they're doing. However, those of us who are capitalist loving, free thinking, America loving individuals, we've come to see the exposed plans of the Democrat socialists, and we're standing against them. That would be 77 million of us who voted red in 2024 election. This also includes, as of recently in the past several months, about 2 to 4 million now former Democrats who have left the Democrat Party upon realizing its insane plans and useless attempts at governing this country, blue cities and blue states particularly. This is especially true with white liberal women who helped to vote in the socialist communist mayor of New York City now, Mr. Zohran Mamdani. Okay, so if you had seen any of the polls, maybe not the polls, the graphs that indicate where the votes were coming from, he won because of two groups of people. Number one, all of the illegal aliens that they've led into this country, thus making New York City a sanctuary city. All right. So I can't remember how many millions of illegal aliens voted for him, but that was number one. They were the number one percentage on the graph. What was number two? Liberal white woman. White woman. Okay.
Karens.
Exactly. So before I go any further,
I need to speak to the manager.
You know what? I'm going to hold up. Let me just say this next thing that I have to say. All right. So did you know that at one point in American history, only white European landowners in America were allowed to vote for government candidates? Did you know that, Brian?
Yes, I did know that.
Okay. Eventually, after the freedom of the African slaves in America, who, by the way, were sold into slavery by their own tribe leaders. You never hear that part in history. You only hear how the mean old white slave owners held them, the slaves, on a slave farm to work for pennies.
And guess who trafficked them to the different countries?
The Dutch
Muslims.
Oh, that's right. Well, that wasn't that like a different part of slavery though, or is that we're talking about the same era?
I may have the timeline mixed up.
You are right though. The Muslims were involved, as most cultures were involved in slavery. As a matter of fact, before I get off track here, the Muslim countries, not all of them, but a large portion of them still have slavery. But, they're Arab, so it's okay. Yeah.
It's the religion of peace, right?
Right, yeah. We only want to talk about the slaves that were here 150 years ago. But before I get off track, so by the way, the other fact you never hear about mentioned in a classroom is that only, I believe it was 2% of white European landowners actually owned slaves. I might be wrong with the 2%, but I know it's definitely a single digit number for the percentage. That's it. So people get this idea that every white person in America at the time owned slaves. They did not. Only 2% did. Having said that, another fact the bleeding heart leftist liberals never want you to hear about is that this issue of the 2%ers, I mean, they just push this on us, or don't push this on us, and make us think that it was everybody, and that's why they have this white guilt, and they hate their ethnic background and their families, and like these people have issues, man. I'm proud to be white. I don't care what you call me, what you say about me. I'm proud of my heritage. I am proud to have Italian American heritage. I am American 100%. But let's be clear about something. If I go around saying, hey, I'm proud to be white, all of a sudden I'm a white supremacist and I'm a racist. No, because it's okay to say, I'm proud to be Hindu. I'm proud to be black. I'm proud to be Puerto Rican. I'm proud to be Chinese, Korean, Saudi Arabian, Brazilian, whatever the fuck. But as soon as a Caucasian says it, it's racist. So stick it up your ass, people, because if you think that's an issue, you got a problem. So after slavery ended, thanks to a Republican named Abraham Lincoln, the fucking 16th president of the United States. Did you even know that part, leftists? Did you know? Probably not. You probably thought he was a Democrat. So after slavery ended, black men were allowed to vote for a presidential candidate and government candidates. So women were the last group of people in America that were allowed to vote. Have you ever wondered why, Brian?
Please tell me why, Myke.
All right, so here's where I probably get canceled.
Well,
Now-
maybe just you will get canceled, but I
Maybe.
won't. So
You could
maybe
do the show and
it'll
I'll just keep
cancel.
quiet.
Yeah, it'll cancel it out. You know.
All right, so here's the part, people, okay? So black men, after slavery was abolished by America, one of the first countries to abolish slavery, by the way, black men were allowed to vote, but women weren't. Any woman of any color and ethnic background, you were not allowed to vote. Now, let me be absolutely clear here. I am not trying to piss off any woman watching this at any point in time, no matter what your ethnic background is. Frankly, I don't care. But the point here is, and I'm probably going to take a lot of heat for what I'm about to say, but women tend to be more emotional and thus tend to use that emotion when making decisions. Be they, I don't know, what you're going to cook that night, or if you're a government official, how do you handle a certain political situation? Do you bomb the country that just said something bad about you, or do you let it slide and continue to negotiate with them about things? So women were specifically prohibited from voting due to emotions involved in their decision making. Say that to a woman and they'll kick you right in the balls. But that's basically it. Again, I have nothing but respect for women, provided they give it to me. But in the case of America and Western culture, particularly white liberal women, you know, the bleeding heart, social warriors, for
Social justice warriors.
Thank you. Social justice warriors for all the ethnic minorities in the whole fucking world. Okay? That's who they think they are. They think they are angels sent straight from heaven to make everything right. And what did they help to achieve just recently in New York City? The election of a socialist, communist, Islam supporting Muslim mayor. By the way, he's also racist against Caucasians. Congratulations, white liberal women. You just fucked New York City. Well done. Well done. And now you're going to reap the benefits, which there really are none, of your actions. So, hey, Brian. Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, pal.
Okay.
Do you remember about 25 years ago when Muslims flew airliners into buildings on September 11th, 2001?
Well, I remember how that was reported. Yes,
But you do remember that day, right?
I do remember that day. Yes.
Okay. So, do you remember a guy named Osama motherfucking bin Laden?
Yes.
Of course you do. Remember that cocksucker? That anti-American, flaccid penis and his cohorts of degenerate, pajama-wearing, anti-Western culture, anti-Christian, anti-Jew, racist, pedophile assholes who claimed responsibility for 9/11 atrocities that killed about 3,000 innocent Americans. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember that scumbag.
Thank you. Thank you. Remember how when he was killed, instead of showing America his body like they did with Saddam Hussein's sons when they were murdered, when they were killed in the war that was taking place, how they plastered their faces, right? I think it was right on the New York Times or one of those major papers in New York City, big as could be, dead, like their heads practically blown off. That was okay. But they didn't post any media images of Osama Biden because they didn't want him to be martyrized. They didn't want him to be made into a martyr, and they also didn't want to they wanted to prevent the Muslims from freaking out. So F you, Obama, for taking his dead body and giving him a proper burial at sea. F you. I have nothing good to say about that president. And I certainly have nothing good to say about the fact that they took that man and gave him a burial at sea. They should have fed him to the fucking sharks. Remember how they claimed it was their and by they I mean the Muslims of the Al Qaeda. They claimed it was their idea, executed by a violent radical Islamic terrorist group known as Al Qaeda. You remember that, of course, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
We went to war for that. How long was it? 16 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It was,
Thousands and thousands of American soldiers were killed in the line of duty, going door to door to door in
with
Afghanistan.
ridiculous rules of engagement.
you.
Ridiculous.
You weren't part of that, right?
No.
What year were you in?
I
the
got out. I got out about a year after 9/11 happened.
Right.
And I was in the guard, and actually my unit, like 2 weeks before I got out, was actually going to Kuwait. Yeah. So
So that
I
was around the
dodged the bullet.
Saddam, the whole Desert Storm thing, right?
No, it was post 9/11.
Post 9/11. You were in
Uh-huh.
at post 9/11. Oh, I didn't realize
No,
that.
I got out right as a year after 9/11.
Okay.
So
But you didn't participate in any missions associated with that time in that
no.
era.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Just checking. All right. So having said all that, I just want to say on the day of September 11th, 2001, I myself personally, I learned everything I needed to know about Islam. A few years after the incident, I actually read the Quran, which is the Muslim Bible that is it's the Islamic Bible. I actually read the Quran and began to understand the mind of Muslims, particularly radical Muslims who believe firmly in the religion of the Quran.
That my daughter's hand. It's my daughter's hand. Sorry about that, everybody. She's special needs, so she's been sitting here watching us. Anyway, go ahead.
All right.
Sorry.
What was I saying? So a few years after the incident, I actually read the Quran and I began to understand the minds of Muslims and their plans. Ultimately, their plans to attempt to take over not only America, but all of the Western civilization, including England, Australia, and anything in Europe. Now, if you don't believe me, and there are a lot of Islamic Muslim sympathizers out there, most of them white women, they will sit back and say, oh, no, that's not true. They're good people. They're good people. All right. Read the Quran. Read the Quran. In multiple places, I wish I when I was reading these books, I used to take notes and I actually posted them. I put them into my computer so that I could remember them. Now I don't have them handy because this is a whole other topic. But the things that are said in the Quran. Now let's face it, it's a book that was written in the 700s AD. Okay, and mind you, from what I understand, a couple hundred years after the alleged so-called Mohammed prophet was walking the earth. Now, there is absolutely no proof that this man existed or anything to his so-called warmongering, racist, hateful warpath actions of hate that he did. There's no proof to his existence. My point is this: so everything in the Quran that was written in the 700s, the people who are radical Muslims read this book and they believe it down to the very last letter. And that, my friends, is where things get radical. Because, like in a Christian, remember, America was founded on Christian, Judeo-Christian values. All right. And I want to be perfectly clear when I say this, coming from a Satanist atheist. Okay. I would rather live my life in America under Judean Christian values than any country that pushes the ideology of Islam and Muslim belief. Why? Well, you see, the Jews and Christians, even Hindus, I believe, have all reformed to modern times. In other words, we don't burn witches at the stake. We don't stone a woman to death if oops, my chair just went down. Hold on a second. Time out. What happened? Oh shit, it won't come up again. Okay. Time out.
All right.
Oh, here we go.
You could just be mini Myke.
It just went down. All right. Okay, sorry. Trying to be all serious and shit, and my chair spazzes out. All right. I lost my frame of thought here. What I was trying to say, I think, was that we no longer stone women for having adultery, or I should say, acting out the sinful adultery things. We don't do that, but the Muslims do. Women are beat on the streets, right on the streets. If your hair is showing, if any skin other than your eyes through a slit are showing. Uh, if you break the law, they'll hang you, cut your head off. If you steal a loaf of bread or something, they'll cut your hand off. So, in other words, whoever is not a Muslim will be forced into the ideology through the idealism of the Quran and the Islamic belief. One of the reasons of what is happening right now as I speak, in Western civilization, Europe and America, is because of the way Western civilization utilizes liberal free speech and civil society. Ultimately, radical Islamists are coming to our countries and our continents, and they are taking advantage of American liberalism and Western culture. In other words, the very thing that makes America and Western civilization what it is today, they are using against us. So you're taking an irrational ideology of radical religion and you're incorporating it into the liberalism of an American way of life, value and tradition and culture. And they don't mix at all. You may be asking yourself, well, Myke, what is this American Western civilization you're referring to? Well, I'll put it to you this way. In a nutshell, if you've ever been involved in a crime, such as a robbery, assault and battery, possibly murder, theft, rape, or more than likely, probably 100% of the time, you ended up getting a trial, facing a judge, possibly a jury, and eventually a verdict comes from that trial. However, if you committed any of those previously mentioned crimes or broke the law in some manner or other, you didn't suffer the consequences as you would have had you been living in an Arabic country. Now, I'm going to give you two examples. If you were in Iran or Iraq or Afghanistan, just to name a few Arabic countries, and you stole a piece of bread from a farmer's market and you were caught, more than likely they would have cut off one, if not both, of your hands. Another example is if you raped a woman in any of those countries, from my understanding, both parties could be found guilty. Now, I've heard stories on both sides of whatever guilty party. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I wrote the other ones down. I typed them in, and I'm not sure which one might be more accurate than the other. But let me start with the first one. So, if a man is caught and proven guilty beyond the shadow of a doubt, they will, in some cases, hang him. Now, I'm talking about the rape of a woman, your wife, your daughter, your mother, any relation, a woman. Okay. Now, guys out there, if you're protective like I am for women and you stand up for them like I do, that 4-letter word is it makes you angry. It makes you want to take the person that did it and just beat him until he is deleted. That's what it makes me want to do. Brian said to me earlier tonight, he's like, are you going to do the crazy eyes? Well, I get fucking crazy when I hear about a woman who's been defiled in that manner. What I want to do to that guy is I can't even begin to explain to you. When somebody affects someone I love and care for, I'll go ballistic. I will really lose it. And that is just my passion, my Italian American passion coming out. I will destroy you. Okay? But I digress. Okay, the crazy eyes are coming out. So if this man who is allegedly, or let me not say allegedly, let's say 100% is proven to have done what he did to a woman, raped a woman, an innocent woman. In some cases, they will hang him until he is dead. Or in some cases, they will emasculate the man by cutting off his genitalia, in most cases in front of the family whose daughter he assaulted or defiled. That's the first thing I've heard. The other thing I've heard, and I guess it might depend on what country you're in, what Arabic country you're in. If an Arab man's daughter is raped, I've been told and have read that the father of the family of that daughter, I should say, will execute what is called a mercy killing. Do you know what a mercy killing is, Brian?
No, please explain that to me.
All right. The father will kill his own daughter for having been raped and therefore defiled before having gotten married. So I'll be the first to admit I don't have all the answers to those particular topics. It's very detailed, and I think it depends on what Arabic country that you're in. But ultimately, think about that. If you are in one of these countries and it is proven that the woman was defiled by a man, she's actually guilty. I just don't understand how that works. In any event, I'm way off course. So let me get back on track. What I was saying earlier about these the white liberal women having helped ring in a Muslim socialist communist mayor who supports radical Muslims, including the very piece of shit that was involved in the first World Trade Center bombing back in 1990. I believe it was 92, about 92, maybe 93. I can't remember. There are images of Zoran Mamdani and the guy whose name escapes me, a Muslim guy, of course, who was involved in the first World Trade Center bombing. Right? Feel free to look it up if you want. You had pulled up a couple images. Was there something you wanted me to see? I saw you pulled up a couple of things.
I was just showing pictures of people you're talking about.
Gotcha.
I'm actually looking at there's a quote I heard just recently about how Muslims say that the United States is a woman that needs to be mounted, but I cannot find it on liberal Google. So, and that I heard that on Turning Point, I believe, but I can't find it. So
You're
anyway,
probably
sorry.
100% right, Brian. These people have become very bold and brave to literally get online and say the things that they are saying. And ultimately, what they are saying is, we're going to take over the country of America.
You know, it's funny that liberalism seems to be an extension of the rights of like black people, right? What was it called?
Wait, say again.
When blacks, in the 60s
Emancipation?
when blacks in the 60s, they
Oh,
were given the same rights. What was that called? Oh my gosh,
I can't remember.
I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, when that all happened, it seems like they're trying to do that again, but for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
And they're trying to fundamentally change this country, and they're using those tactics to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And one man got in their way, named Donald
Ye-
Trump.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the point I wanted to make. Anyway,
So basically, ultimately, what I'm trying to say is the Democrat Party has mostly become a party of idiots, stupid idiots. The number one portion of the people who voted for Mayor Mamdani were illegal aliens, as I mentioned earlier, who, by the way, were imported into the United States of America for this very sneaky procedure, aka sanctuary cities. So the top two Democrats, I said it again, the top two demographics who helped vote in this mayor were illegal aliens and the bleeding heart white liberal women. These women, they hate themselves. They hate the culture of America. They hate their ethnic background. They hate the families that brought them up into this country. They hate white, straight, Christian American men. They certainly fucking hate Donald Trump. They hate Republicans. They hate Christianity, Jews, Western culture, and ultimately anything that has to do with freedom, capitalism, and the American way.
yeah. What one thing I found really interesting was that I thought the Jews would have really had a voice in this whole election, and they seem silent about the whole thing.
You know why? Because they're
Why?
being outnumbered by the incredible mass amount of illegal aliens that were literally imported into this country for the very reason of voting for the Democrats. I'm going to get into it a little bit later as I go down, but that's basically it. That's their whole scam. That's what the Democrats are doing. The import when they opened the fucking gates to America from Mexico and Canada, not only was it as you know, not only was it the Mexicans who were coming through, but they were getting Chinese men of fighting age, military fighting age. And let's be clear about this. You can't leave China without the government's approval. So I cannot hear anybody say to me, well, they were just trying to get away from China, looking for a better life. No, there were thousands of them, and they were all men of military fighting age. So I'm sorry, I don't believe they're looking for a better country. No, because then they come to this country waving their fucking flags and saying how great their country is and how they're going to support their country from our country by bringing more of them in. Perfect example, the Somalian guitar pick head idiot who lost the mayor candidacy. Mayor, what am I trying to say? The position of mayor in, I believe,
It's like Minnesota or something like that.
You're right. Yeah, no, I think it was Missouri, wasn't it? In any event, he lost because he cheated.
Yeah.
But that guy stood up there talking about, just like Mamdani did when he won, thanked every Muslim, every illegal alien from every different country, like some that I never heard before. He did not thank not one Caucasian supporter, not one. He is a racist against Caucasians. But again, I digress. The Democrats and those who voted for Mamdani in New York City are the same. The women who voted for Mamdani are the same women who stood up with the people in protesting riots that stood up for Pakistanis, people from Gaza, Mexican cartel associates involved with rapes of American women and children, the smuggling of drugs into our country, which is killing Americans, and illegal aliens who crossed into this country illegally, bypassing all those who wanted to do it legally and pay and do it the right way. Thanks, President Corpse, you fucking loser. You fake president, lying piece of shit. You and your administration single-handedly practically destroyed this country in 4 fucking years. Thank you. Thank you, you anti-American scumbag.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you there.
Look at that guy's face. He looks like a guitar
Yeah.
pick. His head.
Minneapolis, and earlier we're talking about the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make sure I corrected that.
Got it. Well,
Yeah.
in any event, you can thank liberal white women and all the illegal aliens that have been pushed into the country for having voted in a Muslim supporting a Muslim Islam supporting communist dumbass. Really, he's never done a fucking thing in his life. He's never had a job, and he's going to run the greatest city on earth, the financial capital of the world. He's going to run it right into the fucking ground.
I'm very interested to see like all of Wall Street just getting the hell out of there. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, that's what's going to happen.
There's, you know, I'm. This is going to be nothing but great to watch on TV. It's going to be a complete disaster.
Well,
it's going to be entertaining.
And I understand what you're saying, and I completely back you up. However, you're wrong. It's going to be a very bad thing, and it's going to affect all of us, unfortunately, not only in America, but the entire world. And I'm going to get to it. You know what blows my mind? When I see people like that who hate themselves, hate their families, their ethnic background, they insist that America is so bad and so evil, and that we are living on stolen land, even though they say there are no borders. Try saying that in North Korea. There are no borders. People are allowed to go anywhere. Diversity. Yeah, they'll shoot you. These are the same people who I've seen degrade themselves by kneeling down on the ground to kiss the feet of black BLM supporting people in a display of submissiveness and apology for slavery, an act that they had nothing to do with from 150 fucking years ago. And they say, as they're doing it, as they're leaning down to kiss these people's feet, I'm so honored to do this. In my humble opinion, these people are weak, pathetic losers who think who think very lowly of themselves. They have no pride, and they're saturated with white guilt. I'm sorry, man. I will never cower back like a weakling and say, oh, I've got all this white guilt. Fuck you. Don't ever let anybody make you feel guilty for the color of your skin. And that goes for anybody. But in this case, we're talking about Caucasians, because in America right now, white Christian men, right? Yeah. I mean, I've kind of fallen into the category basically because I'm a white male in America. So therefore, you know, I'm a racist. I'm a bigot. I'm a woman hater. Blah 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 blah. All this nonsense. But they'll never remind you the fact that white American straight men, Christian men, built this fucking country, and without us, they would fall into the ocean. That would be the end of America. Get rid of all the white Caucasian straight Christian men. Get rid of all of them and watch this country fall in less than 10 years. Mark my words. These are the same people who I've seen in protests, which quickly become riots, as I mentioned, screaming chants such as "Death to Donald Trump" and "America is led by Nazis," or "America is hateful," or "America is stolen land." Oh my God. Get a fucking job, you idiot. Let me explain something to all of you about stolen land. All land has been stolen at one point or another throughout the history of planet Earth. There is not one country in this magnificent world that has not been conquered, or, to use the words of the Bleeding Heart, violent, hateful, murder celebrating liberal ghouls, stolen from some group of people, whether it was in Asia, Asia Minor, any Slavic lands, North America, South America, all of Europe, Africa, anywhere. Every country has been conquered or taken over by another group of people. Happened in America with the Indians, the American Indians, all the time. All the time. And after they went into another tribe and decimated, killed all their men, made the kids slaves, the little children slaves, and then and took all the women and impregnated them with their kids. That's what they were doing to each other. Yet, God forbid, if you dress up as an Indian for Halloween, you're a racist. Not only did they destroy the entire village, in some cases, they actually ate the flesh of their victims, scalped their heads and hung their scalps on whatever. I mean, what, they're better than us? Come on. In any event, this is what took place to elect Mamdani as the new mayor of New York City. The charlatan has already been caught in several exposed broken promises that he was making. Ultimately, the lies he spoke in order to get elected. Promises he made to his voter base to win the election. Do you know which lie is the most often used rhetoric fib that all these filthy socialist, communist American, anti-American, Western civilization, violent, anti-white, anti-Republican, commie scumbag liars of the leftist party say to get elected? Do you know what that I lost my train of thought. Do you know what that comment is most often used? The libs use? Would you like to know what it is?
Sure.
Okay.
Damn
Quote.
snowflakes.
Quote, all billionaires are bad, unquote. Or how about this? Quote, people should take the money away from them, unquote. Here's another one. Quote, redistribute their money, the billionaires. Redistribute the billionaires' money to the poor slobs who have, I put that word in, to the poor.
Like that all happened.
Who have never worked for it or even had the intelligence to do what billionaires did to get their money. I'm not saying all billionaires are angels. I am saying that they themselves worked to get that money, particularly the ones like the ones who will accuse billionaires of being, bad people, are particularly the ones who are on EBT food stamps or receive welfare checks or government social programs and government crutches. They all sit there and they bitch and bitch and bitch. Millionaires are bad. Billionaires are bad. Rich people are bad. Kill the rich. Eat the rich. Take their money and redistribute it. Well, I got news for you. That itself is socialism. Mm-hmm. That itself is communism. Take from the rich and give to the poor so everyone can be equal and get the same fair share of money. In other words, if you compare If you compare a brain surgeon to a ditch digger, what they're saying is you should both be making the same amount of money, despite the fact that one person out of those two people is far more intelligent than the other. And he knows, or he or she knows, how to operate on a human brain, opposed to the other person who takes a shovel and uses it to move dirt from one area to the other area. The ditch digger is basically the man digging the graves for those who perished under the blade of another ditch digger who was not educated enough to become a brain surgeon. Do you understand what I just said there?
You're
You
asking
understand
me?
what it, yes, Brian. I should
Yes.
have said Brian.
Yes. Mhm.
So, okay. For those of you who didn't, all I'm saying is that a ditch digger, with respect, we need ditch diggers, but with respect, a ditch digger does not have the same intellect as a brain surgeon.
You know, in China, there are billionaires.
Of course, there are.
You know, in Russia, there are billionaires.
Yes. However, those billionaires and millionaires 99% of the time are associated with the government. So yes, you
What do you
can
think
make,
will happen here if they get their way? It'll be the same exact thing.
of course. Let's hope it
We'll
never
be
gets to
just
that.
like everybody else.
Let's hope it never
Do.
gets to that, Brian. By the way, we're talking about the money in which the billionaires earned themselves for being successful in the methods of their business for which they chose to make their fortunes. Socialists truly believe that taking the wealth forged by others is a process that is fair. In theory, it may sound like a decent, harmonious system for all. And to be fair, this may work for some place that is not the Western civilization, i.e., example, some third world country, some fucked up system in some fucked up third world country with some third world fucked up tyrant running that country. But it's certainly not capitalism. Now, for the record, everything has its flaws. Nothing is perfect. That includes everything. Nevertheless, capitalism has proven to be one of the most successful manners of operating a civilization such as ours. May I add, a civil civilization, and not some third world fucked up tyrant run culture. But those who protest and riot against capitalism are too stupid to realize how good they truly have it here in America. That being said, these protesters standing in front of the White House or wherever, uh, and themselves they themselves are the very product of capitalism in the Western world. It is capitalism and the structure of the American government that allows you to go up with your sign that says Donald Trump is Hitler, Donald Trump is a Nazi. If it wasn't for capitalism and America, you wouldn't be able to do this, because if you tried it in some third world country, they'd kill you or they'd throw you in jail and throw away the key. But they're too stupid to understand what it truly means. Why? Because the indoctrination of the younger generations being taught and told that they themselves are inherently bad, particularly Caucasian kids. They're being told that, well, you know, your ancestors had slaves. Again, 150 years ago. And in some cases, these kids that live here, maybe their parents came here from, oh, I don't know, Australia, Spain, I don't know, Uzbekistan, Tibet. So they come here, they move here. Well, they might be Caucasian, but what involvement did they have with slavery from 150 years ago? None. So this is happening in just about every grammar school, high school, college. It's on television, in every advertisement, in movies, on the internet. Oh, Lord, how they utilize it on the internet. It's truly disgusting how badly the younger generation or younger people are being brainwashed into thinking their heritage is evil. If you're white, you're evil. If you're a Republican, you're evil. If you're pro capitalism, a Christian, a white man, if you have money, a good job, and so on, you're evil. All of this and other methods of propaganda and indoctrination being stuffed into the minds of American youth, mostly by anti-American so-called teachers and professors. It's happening right now as we speak. Brian, when you were younger, do you remember an organization that was called the PTA in school, in grammar school?
Yeah, Parent Teacher Association.
Exactly. I was just about to say the PTA stood, for those of you who don't know, you're probably a lot younger. The PTA stood for, as Brian just said, Parents and Teachers Association. My Mother Hideous, my mom was part of the PTA when I was in grammar school, from as far back as kindergarten right up until 8th grade. We didn't have middle school where I went. So I went from kindergarten and then 1st grade all the way up to 8th grade in the same school. Public school number 18 in Paterson, New Jersey. So it stood for the Parents and Teachers Association. My mom went there. And so what did it do? Brian, would you like to answer that question? What did it do, Brian? If you don't know, I'll tell.
They had meetings, right? And the parents discussed things with the board and the teachers and the principal and stuff, and about any issues that came about, right?
That is absolutely correct.
My parents never went to those things.
No.
No,
my mother was adamantly involved with my education as a child, as a young boy. And so it allowed the parents to be involved with the teachers who were teaching the children of those parents. It was so that you knew what it was those children were learning in school for 6 hours a day. But apparently now the teachers who are teaching grammar schools, high school, colleges, and in some cases even preschool, seem to believe that the parents have absolutely no right whatsoever to be involved with or know what their children are learning in school. I see some of these these TikTok clips or YouTube posts, and like I'm talking like preschool, man, preschool, kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, like prior to 8th grade. They've got pride flags hanging up. Now, I don't have anything. If you're gay, that's fine. I don't care. Whatever. But I don't think it belongs in grammar school, preschool. There's only one flag in my life.
Just a few episodes ago, they're doing having drag queens read books and stuff in the classroom.
Right. And I don't agree with that. Do you?
I don't either. No.
I mean, let's face it. Christianity. No. Yeah, Christianity. Nothing specific. No Catholic, no Protestant, no Lutheranism, no Baptist, none of that. Let's just say Christianity, okay? Mm-hmm. Remember, I was born and raised Roman Catholic. being an Italian. And I went to church every Sunday from when I was a young boy and, was old enough to go on my own. Church was only 2 blocks away, so I was short blocks and I would be able to walk it. I belonged to the Church of Blessed Sacrament in Patterson. And there's a method, there is a procedure, if you will, to the organization of the Mass that you are attending. Brian and I, we played some clips in one of our very early episodes. And we had noticed that they are now being inclusive to the gay, the gay, not the culture, the group of people, the gay, I'm at a loss for words. The group of people, the community, the gay community. Now, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not saying that I believe in it, but years ago, the Catholic Church, I can't speak for all the Christian varieties of worshiping God, but the Catholic community, homosexuality was a sin and therefore despised by the Roman Catholic community. If you were gay, and let's just say, you're gay and you're Italian and you're growing up like in my family, and believe me, I had gay people in my family. And you're growing up in an Italian American family. Oh, you're a tough guy. Hey, you fucking guy. What the fuck you gonna do? You take this thing, I'll shove up your ass. What are you gonna do? So you got guys like that in the Italian American family, and then all of a sudden you've got like a guy who's more flamboyant, more gay, and you kept it to yourself. I had an uncle. In fact, he was my godfather. And I loved that man, but I always knew he was a little different, for lack of a better term. He was just more flamboyant, never had a girlfriend. He was a beautician, worked in a salon, always had perfect nails, but he was gay. Now, my family members, mind you, I was a little boy, okay? I was a little boy. I was 20, I think I was 22 when he died. He ended up getting AIDS. And I loved that man. I really loved him. He was the funniest uncle I had. I used to call him my uncle, but he was my godfather. He used to call me, hey, Goomba, hey, Goomba. Goomba means godfather. But he used to call me Goomba so that I would call him Goomba. And I just loved him so much. He was such a funny, great man. He used to make me laugh so hard. But I loved him. I trusted him. Lived right down the street from me. And he kept it to himself. He had to. That was just the error. Now, am I saying it was wrong? No, because that sort of thing doesn't bother me. If you're gay, you're a man, and you're into other men, I'm okay with that. It's when you start cutting body parts off or doing things to change your appearance that I disagree with.
So here's my feeling about things. I don't tell anybody about my sex life. Period. It's not an important issue to me.
Of course it's not.
What happens between me and my wife in the bedroom happens between me and my wife in the bedroom.
And the midget.
I don't understand this whole.
You missed my joke.
Bringing up sex. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking.
I said, I don't mean to interrupt you. Hold that thought. All I said was, yeah, between you and your wife in the bedroom and the midget.
Well,
I'm kidding. And the donkey.
I just.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
They got big. No, anyway.
Easy.
But yeah,
easy.
dude. Seriously, dude. Like even in my church, it's not even. It's just not talked about. I've even heard my pastor just recently said, I think we've been wrong about this whole gay thing, and I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty open-minded, and I appreciate that.
What did he mean wrong? What did he mean wrong?
Like I think some people made a big deal about it. I mean, there's families that have been torn apart because of this whole preaching thing. Family in our church is terrible, you know. The dad just wouldn't talk to the son because he was gay, and that's terrible, man. I mean, but you can look at it a lot of different ways, but I have as a man who's been hit on by gay men multiple times, believe it or not, at least
I
5
believe
times.
it. I've been hit on too.
And I'm like, look, dude, it's just that's not how I roll. I got no problems with you. I can sit next to you and have a beer and have a
Absolutely.
conversation.
I'm the same way.
I'm just not. That's not my thing.
That's
I don't
absolutely
hate
right.
you. You're just another human being. That's
That's
how I
right.
see you. And I wish
I
more
think-
people, instead of carrying all these fucking flags, oh, I'm gay, oh, I'm gay. I don't even think the gays are making a big deal about it. I think, the Democrat Party puts out this mantra, and then these Karens, these
Leftists.
I want to call them sheep, just
Yep.
pick up the banner and run with it.
That's
Okay?
right.
And then when they come out, and they once they get something done, then they just move on to another thing that's even more like the transgender thing.
Right.
I mean, that's not very popular in this country.
Mhm.
I'm just
That
saying.
some of them sit there like these people who are marching for trans rights, trans children rights, and they'll ask them, what are you here marching for? In some cases, they don't even know.
Yeah, they're getting paid.
Right.
They're
In
probably
addition-
college kids that got a degree in underwater basket weaving.
Right.
Okay. And they can't get a damn job. So the Democrat Party's like, hey, if you were here at this time at this place and you pick up this sign, we'll give you $200.
More than that, I think.
Oh,
But-
sure.
Look, let's just finish up on this thing with the gay
Yeah.
topic. Again, I have nothing against gays. It's the trans movement that I've got a problem with, because they make it seem like it's okay for a child to take puberty blockers to destroy their ability to have the hormones make them into a man or a woman. And by woman, I mean a girl into a woman, not a guy into a woman. That's where I draw the line. I'm sorry. And I know quite a few gay people who also draw the line at trans, because that's not normal. And in addition to indoctrinating children into believing that it's okay, I'm sorry, it's just wrong.
Once you saw the rainbow flag and all that, I was like, all right, whatever. But then when it turned into like this brown, green, it's like, why are you grouping all these people together? They're not the same.
Nope.
Gay men just want to be gay men.
Right.
Lesbian women just want to be lesbian women. I'd be offended by it if I was gay. I really
Yeah,
would.
I think that it's absolutely absurd and diabolical. If I had a kid, you could bet your ass I would have more than likely pulled that child out of school or found a school that would have catered to the ideologies that I wanted my kids taught. Having the kids taught properly and teaching them what's important and learning methods and procedures of how to live their lives comfortably, instead of making them believe that if they're a boy, they could or should chop off their wieners and feel like playing with the doll that day, if they felt like playing with a doll like that. Let me tell you a little story.
I love stories.
When I was a little kid, around maybe 6, possibly 7, I distinctly remember my aunt, who used to live in the house behind mine. She's very old. She was old when I was a little kid. She was old. I remember my aunt having a jewelry box of costume jewelry that she never wore anymore, because she never went out at that point. She was already in her 70s back then. So she had this jewelry box full of costume jewelry, and one day she gave this jewelry box with the jewelry in it to me. Why? Because I would always play with the jewelry when I was playing Little Myke Hideous the Pirate. And I would use that jewelry box and the jewelry in it as a treasure box. It was my pirate booty.
Mhm.
Now, let's fast. Now, mind you, that was in the 70s, the early 70s. Today, if I had told a teacher that I was playing with my aunt's costume jewelry, they could have or would have more than likely suggested I start taking hormone blockers and get my schlong chopped off and start wearing black dresses with the Jolly Roger on it. You know, dye my hair blue and get a septum piercing. That's how fucked up the world has become. Parents these days coddle their children, and they do it so badly that today's kids are practically wearing a giant helmet over their entire body. Personally, I think it's pathetic.
Yeah, I agree.
We're raising a generation of weak, sheltered children. They can't think for themselves because their parents slap an iPad or an iPhone in their hands to captivate their vision and attention, thus essentially being brought up by a computer or babysat by an iPad. So I'm against giving a 2 to 3 year old and even older an iPad or you know, as a babysitter, to give them an iPad as a babysitter. So they just sit there like this.
Yeah.
That's all they do. In fact, I'm against kids having cell phones and iPads and computers with internet access up until I would say probably, I don't know, maybe somewhere between 13 and 16. I think it's irresponsible.
Yeah, when our kids were young, we interacted with them a lot. We took them to church. Um, they were always supervised. And then when they got to a certain maturity level, we let them have those devices, and they've always been
Exactly what you just
responsible
said.
with it.
Maturity level.
Yeah, and they've been responsible with it. I'm sure there's things they've done that I wouldn't approve of, but they didn't get addicted to it or whatever. You know what I mean? Uh,
Hey,
I
you know
try
as well
to
as I
raise
do.
my kids with a certain amount of. I want them to be who they want to be. You know, I
Right.
want them to develop themselves and express themselves the way they wanted to be.
Right.
You know, so
But essentially, you know as well as I know, children, kids, teenagers are going to do what they want to do. They're going to sneak off, drink beer, smoke pot, Lord knows what else. That's, you know, I don't know about you, but I did things behind my parents' back. We all did, right? You
yeah.
right. You go on these adventures, if you will. Now, mind you, I didn't drink or smoke until I was 21. I never did a drug other than maybe, you know, being given like Tylenol 3 after which is basically Tylenol with codeine after having a dentist appointment and getting a tooth pulled. That was the only, and of course that was under the control of my parents. But now it's a whole different story. Like things have changed so badly. For the most part, not every parent is a mental ding dong.
No.
I know quite a few parents who have carried out homeschooling for their children, and personally, I have commended them for it. I look
Yeah.
back at my childhood and I think, you know, look how perfect I turned out.
Yeah, me too.
Look, I'm an absolute perfection genius. I jest, of course. I'm kidding. I am not that cuckoo. Anywho, let me get back on the subject here. All right. So over the last 40 days or so, You may have now. Before I get into the whole mayor thing, I got to bring this up because this is also very important because it has to do with the election of Mayor Mamdani. Over the last 40 days or so, you may have heard that there was a thing called the government shutdown. Basically, it was a complete, and I'm not kidding when I say this, I did my homework. It was a complete Democrat planned political scam to keep the government closed until after the November 4th election had passed. Do you agree with me, Brian?
Yeah. I knew it'd be over before the holiday. I knew that. But yes, I agree with you. It's a setup.
Absolutely.
You know,
And I'll tell you
didn't
why.
get anything out of the deal. It was
Right.
just to rally them to create some energy is all it was
Well,
about.
That's all it was. And now let me get into some of the specifics that prove my point. Once it was over, they had their sneaky little plan that they were going to jam a political stick up the ass of the Republican Party, and the Dems would get everything they asked for and or wanted.
Dude, the elections were in 4 blue states,
Mhm,
like heavily blue states.
mhm.
Come on. Yeah,
Don't be fooled.
I knew the results of the elections. I knew what was going to happen. I could have told you.
Yeah, don't be fooled, guys. Don't be fooled, listeners, people out there. This government shutdown was without a doubt a political scam that was without a doubt a political diabolical scam created and carried out by the crooked socialist lying Democrat politicians. It was all about using the shutdown as what they themselves referred to as, and I kid you not, quote, their only leverage to get what they wanted from the Republicans, unquote. That's a fact, Jack. Look it up. But yet at the same time, I found it amusing, however, that when all the Democrat politicians and liars, I'm sorry, when all the Democrats and political liars were asked by the lying mental ass heads of the mainstream media on why the shutdown was happening and why the Democrats shut down the government, they all repeated the very same lie every time. Every time. Quote, it's President Trump's fault, unquote. Quote,
No.
it's the Republicans' fault, unquote. That's what they were saying.
Even the media wasn't backing that up.
That's right.
Even the media was like, no, that's not true.
So, to any of you out there who believe that the president had the ability to shut down to reopen the government, you need to look into this because basically why they kept the government shut. Now, there were 15 votes to whether to open the government or keep it closed. Every time for 14 different votes, the Democrats voted to keep it closed, while the Republicans, most of them, I think, except for Rand Paul, voted to keep it open or open it. Rand Paul, he's a dumbass, right? Too bad. But
I happen to like him a lot, but I don't agree with him all the time.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I think he makes a lot of terrible mistakes. The sad thing is, most leftist voters who worship the ground the lying Democrats walk on believe everything these politicians do and or say. They are so brainwashed by their party, like it's like they don't even think for themselves. It's really sad. Why is that? The term uneducated voter simply
There's a lot of them
describe
in my state.
so it simply describes a person who does not know the details of certain political issues and or political or politics itself. It could also mean you're just a freaking idiot and just too stupid. But basically, in fact, I was like that when I was younger in my 20s and 30s, when I was a politically correct liberal Democrat. I was like
A
that.
snowflake.
Maybe not a snowflake, but just uneducated because I didn't know the details of politics. I was doing my band and, you know,
It
dating
was cool
girls
to be
and stuff.
liberal.
Right, exactly. Which is primarily the left, is primarily the music and artist culture. It's all left wing. In most cases, uneducated voter is a term that describes individuals who, like Brian, who work a 9 to 5 job, sometimes 5 days, 6 days a week, and you just don't have time to spend understanding politics. You're out busting your ass working so that you could bring home the bread to feed your family, pay the mortgage, get the car fixed, take the dog to the doctor, and so forth. You don't have time to learn all this stuff. Now, I'm a loser and I don't have a 9 to 5 job. I mostly work on the weekends as a photographer these days. But there was a point in time when I did have a 9 to 5 job. I worked as a journalist, printer, all kinds of things. And I had to be there, at a job between, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days a week. When I was a publicist, I had to work at the office 5 days a week, and then I managed, believe it or not, a adult clothing store within this piercing body shop that I no body piercing shop that I worked for in Hawthorne, New Jersey. Anyway, I'm getting off the topic, and I didn't have time to read about politics. So if you don't have the time to study and educate yourself on politics and politicians, you're simply not going to be an educated voter. And you won't know who it is or what it is you're voting for. Many
And it
voters.
doesn't mean watching The View.
Anyone who watches The View has a couple of brain cells loose. Many voters, both Democrats and Republicans, but mostly Democrats, are uneducated voters. Many believing it was Trump's fault for the shutdown simply because they saw it on TikTok. When in reality, it was really Chuck Schumer of the Democrat Party and his Democrat goon politicians who shut down the government. And why? Because they wanted to build, first of all, they wanted $1 trillion. And of that $1 trillion, and part of the bill was that they wanted to be able to give illegal aliens free health care in America. I don't know about you, but I don't want that. It's hard enough to get a doctor's appointment or go to the emergency room. You imagine waiting for I don't know, an hour, 2 hours to get in because there's all these people in San Diego at a hospital waiting to be seen for whatever reason. That letting all these people into our country without vetting them or going through the proper procedures was the biggest mistake this country has ever made. And let's be clear, it was made by President Corpse and Communist Harris. And they screwed up so bad. They screwed up.
Not to mention they ruined our economy. And
ruined the economy.
They're wanting to spend another $1 trillion.
Another $1 trillion, yeah.
That's
First thing
That's
Biden.
economics 101 right there.
Oh, yeah. It's a Democratic 101. The first thing Biden did when he came into office was he asked Congress for $3 trillion. Do you have any idea how much $3 trillion is? Well, there's really no answer to that. It's just kind of hypothetical, but it's a lot of zeros is what I'm getting at. If you were born today and asked to count one for every second, count 1, 2, 3, 4. You could count for the rest of your life and you would never reach the number. You probably wouldn't even reach the number 1 billion, but you would never ever reach the number 1 trillion, let alone 3 trillion.
So that's what $1 trillion looked like right there.
Where?
See if I can blow that up.
To the right?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's
Just saying.
crazy.
So 3 more of those. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I'd like $3 trillion, please. So it wasn't Trump or the Republican Party. In fact, the Republicans voted 15 times. 14 times prior. The 15th time is when they finally opened up the government. But the Republicans voted 14, 15 times, whatever you want to call it, to reopen the government. And the Democrats kept voting no. So don't believe the rhetoric you hear from the left because they're liars. They'll lie right to your face. So what did the shutdown do? Can you answer that, Brian?
It did absolutely nothing to me because I'm not reliant on the government in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, there's people that, luckily because of Trump, they did get their SNAP benefits, but they were not going to get their SNAP benefits. There's people that went without pay for 40 days.
Mm-hmm.
In this economy, I can tell you that's not easy for a lot of people.
Specifically the military. I mean, I heard that they
Military got
eventually
paid.
I heard that they eventually got paid, right? But not their full amount.
Because of a billionaire, a friend of Donald Trump's.
I heard about that.
They got paid.
Yeah. What a man.
Maybe it wasn't
What
the
a
full
man.
amount. I don't know all the details. But TSA workers didn't get paid, which, I have my issues with the TSA, but I don't want to see any person that shows up to work, not get paid, And
Right.
That wasn't the Republicans' fault.
Nope.
All they wanted to do was pass a clean CR to keep the government open.
And explain to everybody what a CR is, in case they don't know.
A continuing resolution. So basically, it's both sides agree we're going to keep the government open because there's some issues that we want to negotiate, but we're going to keep it open and try and resolve those issues.
Mm-hmm. Now,
and on the side of the Republicans, they were just wanting, there were no conditions.
Right.
But
that's right.
The Democrats had the conditions.
All kinds.
They're asking for a lot of money.
A lot of money, and for some things that were not even American related.
Yeah.
So let's kind of specify a little bit more. The CR, what was it called again?
Continuing resolution.
Continuing resolution. The CR had been voted for multiple times with Obama, Biden, and who else knows what other Democrat politicians. And every time they were voted yes, or I should say voted by the Democrats to keep things in place and keep it moving. But they had to shut the government down simply because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been getting wins left and right. He's been winning left and right. It's too bad we can't have him for another term because I guarantee you he would make this country blow up with money. I mean,
we're only 10 months into it, so
the guy's done more in 10 months than the last 5 presidents before him combined, in my humble opinion. So again, as I said, what did the shutdown do? It's simple, really. Anyone who gets paid by the government for a government-run job wasn't getting paid, and as a result of the shutdown. However, here's something you probably didn't know. All the Democrats, the Congress, all the Democrats in Congress, the politicians, the ones who call for the government shutdown, they were still getting paid. And you know the senator, what's his name, Kennedy.
Yeah, from Kentucky.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
While you look that up, Kennedy had proposed. He was trying to propose a new bill. The Democrats in Congress, who are the ones insisting that this shutdown continue, should in fact not get paid. And do you know what that piece of shit Chuck Chuck Schumer said? Well, I can't do that because some of them have children. John Kennedy.
Yeah, I always get it mixed up. He's in Louisiana.
Yeah. John Kennedy tried to propose a bill that for the shutdown, nobody gets paid. And that son of a bitch, Chuck Schumer, said, well, was it Chuck Schumer or was it Bernie Sanders? One of them, I think it might have been Bernie Sanders. I can't remember. But one of them said, well, we can't do that because, they have children. Oh, but the American people, fuck them. Who cares about them? They are filthy pieces of shit. All the Democrat Congress politicians are pieces of shit. They don't care about you. Meanwhile, the EBT tribes people, all of these fat, disgusting, never having worked a damn job in their fucking lives, they were believing that the EBT food stamps they received every month from hard-working American taxpayers was their right to have. I couldn't believe it. All bitching and complaining that they were going to starve. And let me tell you, if you had seen some of these people, they weren't going to starve for probably a year. That's how fat they were. Like, it's just unreal. These people are so self-entitled, self-righteous morons. I nearly pissed my pants watching these giant, fat, diabetic, lazy Jabba the Hutt looking motherfuckers complaining that they weren't going to have anything to eat and how they were going to starve and how they were going to rob rob food stores. I mean, honestly, these mostly peaceful rioters of the unknown ethnic background astounded me with the ignorance and self-righteousness bullshit that was spewing from their mouths. They are leeches of society, draining the system. They're pathetic. Even the socialist propaganda mainstream media was catering to their sympathetic cries of, I'm going to starve. It was absolutely pathetic. So if you're that concerned about starving, get off your fat fucking ass and get a fucking job. If you're that concerned, you lazy diabetic fat fuck. All right, so back to business here. So as you may have heard, the 40-day government shutdown has come to an end. And here's the kicker, folks. What did the Democrat politicians achieve by shutting down the government for more than a month? Putting people that actually needed EBT food stamps, as well as the people who work for airports and the military and all that stuff. I even think the post office is part of that whole government thing. Either way. So what did it achieve? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. They got nothing.
They got some optics. That's what they were looking for.
Yeah, big deal. And do you want to know why? Because the Republicans did not budge an inch. The Democrats wanted to give illegal aliens free health care. They wanted $1 trillion. And they wanted to sneak all their little shitty anti-American socialist bullshit into a bill worth $1 trillion. It's astonishing how fucking sneaky these underhanded Democrat politicians are. But then again, I'm not surprised because the majority of them are they're now becoming socialists. And if you haven't learned already, socialists are lying fucking pigs. They'll lie right to your face. They say that about capitalists and Republicans, but in reality, it's really them reflecting their own flaws against the enemy who is going to destroy them. And by that, I mean the Republicans. We're going to destroy them. They're falling apart, and they're coming to an end more than like, and I hope they do. I will admit it's not exactly easy for me to explain all this stuff. So I urge you to look up, simply look up the stuff on your own. The problem is that the leftists don't want to hear logic. They only think with emotion. So when trying to talk with someone, with some of them, to have a civil conversation, a discussion, or a debate, they don't want to hear it. They'll walk away. Maybe not. They will simply flip you off, call you some bunch of profanity, and then they'll walk away. That is, unless of course they don't try to beat you up or mug you, or in the case of Charlie Kirk, they'll assassinate you. And don't forget that they claim, oh, it's both sides. It's not both sides. It's the Democrats. Let me rephrase that. It's the leftists, the woke people. And do you know that all the assassinations and school shootings that have taken place in the past, I want to know, couple of years, they've all been trans. Look it up. And then they call you fascists and a Nazi. And what do you do with those people? You kill them. So what are they trying? They want to kill you. They want to kill you. And the Democrat Party endorses that. And if you think I'm kidding, ask any of them if they will stand up and say to their followers, the voters, stop the violence. But they won't. They won't. They just keep going. Hateful, racist. They're trying to turn America into a tyrannically run government, a third world country. Let me tell you something, people. You should thank your lucky stars. Thank them that you have a president like Donald Trump. Why? Because I guarantee you, if we did not have Donald Trump on our side right now, I could honestly say we might not have a country right now. Communist Harris is by far the dumbest left-wing woman politician on earth. That woman she was almost the president of the United States. She wasn't even elected to run in the primaries or whatever you call them. She was basically anointed the position to run for the presidency. But America saw through it, and we got Donald Trump. Thank God. All right, so let's take a look at the stock market and to understand how things are getting better. The stock market is doing good. Take a look how much money the president is bringing in. He's pulling it into our country right now, and things are going to get better and better. Right now, we're still in a bad situation. Inflation is still kind of there. We're still feeling hard times, but as long as we have a man like Trump in office, who, remember, was at one point a Democrat, like myself and others, we will have a country to call our own. Okay, so let's talk about the mayor of New York City. The lying socialist Islamist, aka liar. The socialists of America are primarily the younger AOC retards who have never read a history book on the failures of socialism and how every single country that has ever gone socialist communist has failed. These socialists are taking over the so-called normal Democrats of old. Ultimately, the Democrats have allowed these socialist mental retards to infiltrate the Democrat Party. And now the Democrat Party itself is crumbling like a house of cards. And like every good socialist, communist, none of them take any responsibility for their own actions of failure. As always, a good socialist will always blame their failures on everybody else but themselves or the party. I mentioned that earlier. It's a typical Marxist move. However, the capitalists and the individuals saw right through it. And all right, so Zoran Mamdani is destined to fail. His policies are bullshit. And he cannot, it's impossible to execute some of his policies without destroying the basic business fabric of how things work in a large city such as New York, the business capital of the world. His plan is going to fail miserably. There are a lot of things that can come from his failure. Number one, all the smart business people, the business owners, are already, as of now, are moving out by the thousands. They're leaving New York City in droves. Why? Because Zoran has chosen to tax businesses, millionaires, billionaires, and keep in mind, millionaires and billionaires who run businesses that are like Fortune 500 companies, providing jobs for thousands, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of people who depend on those jobs to survive. Meanwhile, Mamdani thinks he's going to have buses running for free. Excuse me, I'm having a belching fit. He thinks he's going to have the buses running for free, which he can't control. He's going to freeze rent for people, which once you freeze rent on the landlord, mind you, I don't know, you're young, you have this aspiration to be a landowner. So what do? You save your money, you buy a building. Now you've got renters. Those renters bring in the money so that you can maintain it as well as making a profit. What happens when you freeze rent? Well, all the repairs on that building are now going to be held back because now you can't maintain the building. So it's going to fall into ruins and you're going to get slums. Even government stores, this guy wants, which will have cheaper food, allegedly, thus putting other businesses out of business. How are they going to compete with government-run food stores that are selling a bag of, I don't know, let's just say let's say cans of peas that are going for $1.50 to $2 in a normal store? He starts selling them for 25 cents. What's that going to do to everybody else? Put them out of business.
And who's paying for it?
Who's paying for it? I'll tell you who's paying for it. First, it's going to be the taxpayers. He's going to tax the white business owners and the white neighborhoods more so than he's going to tax anybody of color. Racist. Number two, when the billionaires and the big Fortune 500 company owners move out of New York, who do you think is going to get taxed next? I'll tell you, the middle class. And then they may run out. Okay?
Is he going to tax his mom, who's a millionaire?
So. I hope so.
I'm just curious. She's on the front cover of Fortune magazine.
Oh, of course she is. Meanwhile, the other food marts, they're just gonna, they've been around for decades and decades, but they're gonna end up going out of business. Zoran, born in Uganda, a socialist Muslim, he knows better than everybody else. This guy,
the man that's never had a real job in his entire life.
Just gonna say, the man who has never had a job in his life. He's a trust fund baby who lived off of mommy's money when she worked at Walt Disney. I don't know what she does now, but that was her job. This is a dummy who tried to make a living being an actor. And when that failed, that ought to tell you like everything you need to know. Huh?
Let's go into politics.
Right.
Do you know
Which is
Eric
basically the same
Adams,
thing.
The mayor, the actual mayor, he was trying to, get this whole free bus thing going. And Eric Adams said, okay, I'm going to let you run that show. Show me how you're going to do it. And the guy was given like a year. He never did a damn thing about it. He never did anything.
Well, I got news for you. There aren't going to be any free buses because he doesn't control that. There's a lot of things that he said that are not possible to do. Even the governor, that dumb idiot that she is, even she has now said like he can't do like 90% of the things that he promised. He's an actor. He's a failed actor and a phony. And now he's gone into politics, which is basically for failed actors. So all I can say right now is rest in peace, New York City, because that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to die. Unless the president of the United States steps in and declares martial law on New York City and wants to get it, once it gets too bad, if he calls martial law, once it's out of hand, he could potentially go in there and straighten things out. But at that point, it might be too late. And mark my words, people, crime is going to skyrocket. Murder, theft, rape, it's all going to skyrocket as a result of electing a piece of shit as a mayor of New York, because the people who voted for him are too stupid to realize what they had in the palms of their hands. Now it's been taken away from them.
You know who he reminds me of? God dang it.
God dang it.
Stupid ads. Oh, that pisses me off.
I know. I hate it too.
That guy.
So he reminds you of him?
He reminds me of an even more evil son of a bitch than this evil son of a bitch. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say why because I just, but it has a lot to do with what you were talking about at the beginning of the show. I just choose not to talk about that.
I hear you. Well, at the beginning of the show, Brian played that clip from JD Delay on the whole Muslim thing. As I've said before in previous podcasts that we've done, London is gone. It's gone. And the Muslims are outright saying, we are taking over. We're taking this country. They are trying to implement Sharia law, as well as in other. They even, in fact, in Texas, Governor Abbott has now banned the possibility of Sharia law, and rightfully so. People, I don't say this often, and let me be clear. I'm not making a racist statement when I am about to say what I'm about to say. The Muslim religion ideology is the most fucked up religion there is. Worse than any other mainstream religion, because they have not modified, in addition to their constant determination to kill people when they don't adhere to their way of thinking, how they want things to happen. So getting back to New York City, if we're not careful, exactly the footage that we played at the beginning of this podcast is exactly what's going to happen in New York City, if not other cities in America. What will this do? As the cities crumble and decent people get out of those cities, That will push all the people out who have lived in New York City all their lives, generation after generation, all the businesses that have been there year after year after year, all the policemen who put their lives on the line to protect citizens in New York. They're all going to leave. And an influx of illegal aliens will come into the city, and that'll be that. And by that point, it's too late. It's over. And you're going to have a giant slum. And then what happens from there? They trickle out like roaches to other places. Okay. I don't think I need to explain to you what's going to happen from that point on. Okay. But New York City has just been plunged into the abyss. I feel sorry for those people who did not vote for him, because those are the people who are truly going to suffer and be affected in the worst way. Frankly, for the assholes that voted for this lying piece of shit, I hope they get what they deserve. Okay. And as I come to the end here of my long, drawn out monologue, so to speak, I certainly hope that they don't leave or move out of New York City and come to places where good people live and work, where you have families and so forth. Because we all know what happens, as I just said, when they go into these cities, they leave the shitholes that they created, and then they move into another place that's decent with hardworking taxpayers and families, and good schools and good businesses, and they destroy that next. They're like cancer. They come from the so-called shitholes that they say that they're leaving because they were oppressed, and then they come here and try to impose their shithole, shit country ideology on us. People, you better thank your lucky fucking stars that we have President Trump. He is the only man that will protect us from this mayhem. And after him, J.D. Vance, number 48. Rest in peace, Paris. Rest in peace, London. Rest in peace, Barcelona and Spain, Germany, the UK, Ireland, Scotland, New York City. And there's a few other places that I cannot remember off the top of my head. But liberals, you brought this on. America, you better start standing up. Americans, you better start standing up for your country, because we literally have our neck on the line. And it's because of the politically correct liberal Democrats and the wokies and all these dummies who have sanctuary cities who are making the circumstance 100 times worse. These people, in my humble opinion, these people need to be deported. All of them. I don't care if you've been here for 30 years illegally. If you cross the border illegally, we are carrying out the laws of our country. And that's what all these protesters don't seem to understand. Trump is simply advocating the law. And if you don't like this country, get the fuck out. And that's all I have to say.
Myke, so I kind of knew a lot of the things that you'd say tonight. I knew it was coming, okay? But I wanted to really illustrate what you were going to say and what you are saying in a very simple video. And I'd like to share that video with you. Are you okay with that, Myke?
Of course.
Okay.
As I snort some stuff.
So this video.
I've seen this. This is great. Play it.
So I don't know if you can see my little cursor here, but this is an example of New York City.
Bing. I love it.
One more time.
That's hilarious. Oh, I saw that. Excuse me. I saw that a couple of days ago. There's a couple of them, all AI generated clips of very large people destroying things as they fall down. In any event, Brian, the things that I said tonight, I said as a true-blooded, patriotic, flag-waving American, and I'm quite sure you understand where I'm coming from. I am not a racist. I like people. If you respect me, I respect you. If you come into my country, you need to assimilate to my country. Yeah, we might be a country of immigrants, but we are Americans.
Mhm.
Unlike Omar, the Somalian dumb bitch congresswoman.
Guitar pick.
No, that's the
Oh, yeah,
dummy.
yeah.
That's I'm talking about the dumb
don't have my-
bitch Congress. No, you're thinking of
yeah.
Talib. You're thinking of Talib.
Yeah. I
I'm
don't have
talking
my
about
drumstick.
the
damn it.
skinny one from Somalia who literally talks about how
Right.
she talks about being from Somalia. This is the one who married her brother
Mm-hmm.
to come to America and become a citizen. She's a lying twat. But what I'm saying is that this is happening, and it's happening in real time where everybody can see it on the internet. You know, years ago, you might not have seen or heard or know what was going on because all we had were newspapers, maybe some television, but now it's internet and everybody's got it right in the palm of their hand. Okay. We get to see it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at any point in time. It's happening, man. It's happening. And you might say, well, you know, you've got a real problem with Muslims. Yeah, you're right. I do. And I'm not afraid to say it. You know why? Because I've seen the clips that they put out about talking about how they're going to take over the country. Not only this country, but every Western country. Wake up, America. It's coming. I hate saying that, but it's true. They realize that they cannot beat us militarily. We have the strongest military in the world. Nobody can take us down. And we are also in a perfect geological location with two oceans on each side, North America, South America. Nobody's coming in. Nobody can attack us. But the Muslims have figured out a way to exploit our system, our kind, generous American way. And they're using it against us. And it just goes to show you what kind of people they are. Hateful. Don't be fooled. Do not be fooled. I'll say it over and over and over again. If you don't know what this word means, look it up. I will repeat it constantly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to Hideous Diversion podcast this evening, episode number 34. Our show will be coming out on November 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. If you'd like, go to our YouTube page and subscribe. Please like, share, all that jazz, and just support us. I tell the truth on this show. We tell the truth on this show, and we try to be as honest as possible. We greatly appreciate your viewership and your subscription. All right, Brian, would you like to say anything, pal?
I appreciate all the support. Yeah, have a good. We'll see you next week.
Yeah,
we're going live soon.
that's
the
right.
end of the month. So
are we?
Exciting things are coming. Yes,
we only have one more episode after that. Should we do it next week?
So
this comes out on the 17th.
Look, we got the 17th, but then we're recording on
the 24th.
Yeah, so we're going to be live really soon.
Yeah.
So be ready.
Brian and I will have a powwow and figure out what else we possibly could do before the end of the month. Now, As I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to keep this short, we are taking off for the month of December, and we'll be coming back in January 2026. So there's that. In the meantime, this next episode that you're about to see will be out on the 17th, and then our last one will be the 24th. But we might work something out. Brian and I'll work that out when we discuss it off the air. On that note, I'd like to say once again, thank you to our veterans and anyone who is military associated. Thank you for your thank you for what you do and your service to this country. And that's about it. By the way, Brian was in the military, so thank you to Brian. All right, guys. Once again, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we'll see you for the next episode. Thanks very much. Good night.
By an entire city, he defined America Strong. Dick Hoyt and his son Rick were a team, father and son for years, competing in the Boston Marathon. That father pushing his son the entire way. We have followed their story for years. Rick was born paralyzed, the doctors telling his parents, you should consider putting your newborn in a special care facility.
We cried, but we talked and we said, no, we're not going to put Rick away. We're going to bring Rick home and bring him up like any other child.
Dick and his wife Judy did just that. Sports, school, communicating through a computer. And it was back in 1977, Rick asked his father if they could run in a charity race together. Dad said he was out of shape, but that he would do it.
When we got home that night, Rick wrote on his computer, Dad, when I'm running, it feels like my disability disappears. So that was a very powerful message to me.
And so they kept running and running. The Boston Marathon 32 times, the statue in their honor near the starting line. More than 1,000 races in all, Ironmans too. Dick towing his son on a raft.
I'm amazed at what I'm doing. I'm running faster now when I'm 60 years old than when I was 18 years old.
His son Rick is now 59, and his father, who was 80, passed away overnight. Rick's brothers breaking the news to him. And it was Rick who gave his father the biggest gift.
I think that Rick has, really made me fulfill my life as a father. What's the secret? Just having a great son, I guess.
We celebrate Dick Hoyt and his family. Good night.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the